Good morning, everybody. It's about 10 after 11 on 1st of November, Saturday, 2025. And I'm at that's at a Renock here. It's a place, let's see. Look at the fish. Matter of fact, they're even alive. Let me see if I can show them to you. Get in line, get in line. No, I'll just show you the entrance to the Renock. I was already inside. So, well, you get all kinds of vegetables, fruits, and who knows what all there. Here on the outside, normally in the summertime you get shawarma, there's kvass and everything else. And me, myself, what did I do? I got potatoes. Unfortunately, I can't carry them and carry this stuff all at the same time, so I just decided I would show you guys, this outside here. And well, unfortunately I'm stuck here. Maybe I can come back and undo this. Lots of kids around here too. So anyway, let me start with the news anyway. I can't sit down on the bench, it's wet. Everybody watching me here. Okay, yesterday I mentioned that it talked about Donald Trump's peace through strength, and then of course it's normally how things go. Right after I say something in a video, it comes out in the news, some sort of things. But this Kirill Dmitriev, he put out his little version of Putin's peace through strength, but I guess it's much different than, of course, how Zelensky, obviously he talks a lot about peace through strength. Everybody's talking about peace through strength now. So I was thinking, well, what is the difference between Trump's, Zelensky's, and Vladimir Putin's peace through strength? And let's try to analyze this and see what they mean. And obviously, well, I wrote it down here. Let's see if I can say it by memory. Donald Trump's is mostly victory. He wants victory through strength. So, how did I say this? Putin uses deterrent. Let me see the definition. It's like a deterrent. That's why he put up these new weapons. And so it's like a deterrent. And that is actually, in truth, peace through strength. And it's like, well, look, we got this, and let's not start a war because, we'll be using these if there's a war, and it's peace through strength. And then you have Donald Trump uses, his is like a demand. It's a demand for his opponent to surrender. That's his peace through strength. I've got all these things and I'm gonna use them on you right now unless you surrender and give me what I want. That's Donald Trump's version of peace through strength. It's a demand for surrender. So what is Zelensky's? Zelensky is peace through strength. Please give me some weapons. Please give me the weapons, and so that I can use them on my enemy. So it's during the time of a war. Russia wants to stop a war, not to have a war. Donald Trump says, do what I want or I will start a war. And Zelensky uses peace through strength during a war. Manipulates his counterparts. Oh, please give me this so I can kill these people. Anyway, you see, they all have a little bit of a different meaning of peace through strength. And I guess that's why Putin has never said during the special military operation anything about peace through strength. It's only this Dmitriev, or Kirill Dmitriev. Normally Dmitry is a first name, so I get them mixed up. Okay, anyway. Oh, and by the way, this Kirill Dmitriev, he calls the Poseidon, not the Poseidon, he calls the Bereshkin, he calls that weapon, he calls that Skyfall, and I call it Thunderbird. And some people, they have some other Petrel, they say Petrel. So it's like nobody can decide on really what a name is for this airborne missile that can carry a nuclear warhead, very devastating, that can stay loitering in the atmosphere for maybe a week at a time, going around in circles and avoiding all sorts of radar. But I call it Thunderbird because that's actually a little bit more appropriate. And somebody, as I said, somebody wrote in a comment and said like a Thunderbird is a mythical bird, but it's actually a lot more accurate when you think of how the Russians look at this. If I were to suggest Thunderbird to a Russian, they would say, oh yeah, that it fits, that's a good name for that. So it's because the Russians look at this as a bird that comes out, and the sailors know when there's going to be a storm, because when it's starting to look gray and threatening, this bird flies out because it thrives hunting for fish during a time when a storm is threatening. So that's why I just call it a Thunderbird. So okay, well look at this, the line is lower now. So what else? Let's keep going here. In the next few days, most all the assets that the United States wants to surround Venezuela, at least by sea, are all going to arrive. I believe this Gerald Ford, the biggest aircraft carrier in the world, is supposed to be there very soon, and other assets are arriving. And I guess, what is this MV Ocean Trader, that is an operations boat for special forces, and that has arrived. So you have a lot of special forces troops there. But are they, I don't know about Green Beret. Normally it would be Marines, but Marines are not necessarily special forces. You know, you would think maybe Navy SEALs. There are probably the Navy SEALs on there. I don't know. Delta Force wouldn't be on there. Luckily I didn't get into I could have got in. You know, I could have got in, but I didn't. But one thing was my eyes. My eyesight is not that great, and that would be the one thing. You could get an eye operation, I believe, and then get in. But a lot of people tried for this, and I was the only one that qualified for it. And there's already a guy in the Green Berets and all. He didn't make it. So the Green Beret didn't make it, but I did. Anyway, so that's my old military days. Yeah, let's see. Apparently, White House sources, they didn't name any names, which is always, really, is this really true? So you don't even know. They say that Maduro has only a few days to exist. So, what is days? I don't know. You know, if you think about it, days means, you know, what, 29 days? Just less than a month? Because after that it will be a month. Months. I don't know. Or maybe it is 59 days, just short of 2 months, because then it becomes months and not a month. I don't know. So maybe he's got 59 days. So I don't know. Donald Trump says he doesn't have plans to attack Venezuela. Oh yeah, we believe that. You know, it's very expensive to have all those forces down there, not to be used for anything. It's sort of like what he did in Yemen, you know, and bombing the crap out of Yemen, and he never defeated the Houthi. And so he packed up, I think he might have declared victory or a truce or something, and he left, you know. Well, I don't know. Like I said, I have great respect for the Yemenites, the Houthi. And I guess Jackson Hinkle was there, like I said, and a lot of other people. I think George Galloway and all. So in other words, they actually appreciate those people too, at least their morality, I suppose I would say. Okay. It's been officially announced that the Trump administration does not know the entity of these people on these so-called drug boats that they're bombing. So they don't know who these people are. They're just bombing them. So if you don't know who they are, how do you know that they're drug dealers carrying drugs? That's very strange. And then something else came out, and it said that they don't have proof. First, they don't know who they are, and then that they don't have proof, so it's much easier just to bomb them and kill them so that they don't have to go in front of a court. Isn't that strange? It's really strange. It's almost like saying we know that they're not drug dealers, we just want to kill these people because we have no evidence that they're drug dealers. Gosh, talk about... Anyway. Yeah, they said killed instead of getting a trial because they have no evidence, no witnesses or anything. And then, you know, it's all obviously been put out that a lot of these people are fishermen. So, okay, now do you remember, I don't know how many months ago that was. You know, a lot of people coming by and glancing at me. Do you remember, a lot of babushkas and things here in Belarus. So if you remember, there was leaked footage a long time ago of Israelis raping, and they were blocking the camera view. They had shields and everything, and there was a big group of them, and they were blocking the rape of a Palestinian man. I guess it was in a room also. There's a lot of them. They had them laying face down and probably zip tied all over on the ground and, kicking them around a little bit. And one guy, they took him, and then of course they covered it all up so that the cameras wouldn't see. And I guess they really badly raped this guy, and he had lots of internal bleeding and all that. And there was a well, of course, nothing happened to the rapists, all of them that were collaborating with, and nothing whatsoever. And matter of fact, they probably think of them as heroes. It's a cowardly act. Only cowards do that. Somebody that's tied up, and then you pull this kind of crap on them. I don't know. To me, it's like it's a disgrace to the Israelis, and it looks like maybe a woman lawyer. She saw the same thing. So it was the IDF's top lawyer that authorized the leak of this video. And of course her name was there. I didn't write her name. We wouldn't know who she is anyway. And she was forced to step down. And the defense minister, Katz, he said he's going to go into even more punishment of this woman, and said something like about a blood libel or something like that. I don't know. It's like, I don't know. That's God's chosen people, I guess, is what that's what they do. Man alive. And then they talk about killing and putting people in jail that don't agree with the genocide. Okay, I was going to announce one error. I made it, I think, a few times. I was talking about the 82nd Airborne, that I was saying was sent to Romania, but it turns out it's the 101st, and I always mix the two up. The 82nd, they have like the two A's on the patch, and the 101st, they call it the Screaming Eagle. They have this normally on your Class A uniform. It's a black patch with a bald eagle's head screaming with its tongue sticking out. If you guys have seen that patch, kind of like elite forces. And I think I was supposed to go to that unit, and I was getting out of the army, and they wanted me to stay in, and I was on orders to go to Fort Bragg. That's at Fort Bragg, and I guess 82nd, is normally based out of Fort Campbell, Kentucky. But I was getting out, and I didn't go. But anyway, it was actually a punishment. They're trying to punish me, because that's where a lot of like if you're married or something like that, that's where you can do a lot of field duty. The soldiers do a lot of field duty, and there's wives cheating and lots of infidelity, I guess I would say, and lots of other nasty stuff going on there. So it's kind of a terrible existence to go there, I guess, according to a lot of people. But I was also stationed at what's called Wildflecken, the Rock, and that's the worst place supposedly in Germany to be stationed at. It's a training base, and some people commit suicide when they come on orders to go there. It has its disadvantages, but it's got its advantages as well. I didn't ski. They got some mountain ski places right by there. So, but you're working all the time anyway. I don't know if you'd ever have time to ski so much, because you go to the field, out into maneuvers and all that all the time. And they have a armor unit there as well, and we were like combat spies. It's supposed to be the first place that's going to go under when Ivan comes across the border. So we were supposed to be like a cannon fodder, the first place that's going to get annihilated at that time. I don't know if that's why people didn't want to go there. Maybe the duty is not, so it's not funded so well. Like I was into photography, and the photo lab there, they weren't really, I think they had some of the things. They always were short, so you couldn't develop your film. That's back in the 35mm camera stuff, when you had to develop film and things like that. So they were always short on money, so you could never do that. So you have to send it out to someplace, and there's no real towns anywhere nearby there. So you gotta either have a car, or luckily I had a car, so you gotta drive somewhere to take it on the German economy to have your film developed and things like that. But anyway, this PX is small, and but it wasn't bad duty. It really wasn't. Nature, very nice nature there. if you have time to ever go and enjoy it. And you know, running up to mountains. Oh, there's a place that has beer there called Kreuzberg. It's not Kreuzberg, Berlin, but there's a place called Kreuzberg right by there. And that's on the, see, we were on one mountaintop, and there's another mountaintop there. There's a monastery, Catholic monastery that brewed this beer, and I think the regular beer is 12% alcohol, but you don't even taste it. It goes down like water. And I think at around Christmas time they put a Christmas beer, and it's even stronger. I don't know if that's 17%. And so anyway, it's an interesting duty there. Great beer. Oh man, don't make me think of that. So let's keep going. Okay, so it's 101st Airborne, you know, that was based, actually they were sent to Romania, and then of course obviously they were doing operations in Ukraine, like that one video showed, and somebody was filming it and somehow it made it onto the internet, you know, when Russia bombed someplace, and it turns out it was a bunch of American soldiers there. So yes, and what else do we have here? The United States, apparently they have 84,000 troops in Europe. Apparently, who knows if it's less, who knows if it's more. They say they're going to withdraw some from Bulgaria, Hungary, and Slovakia. And apparently they are withdrawing 700 from Romania, which mostly is that 101st Airborne Unit. But you never know if they're going to be just, like I said, some people rotating. They don't say that. Okay. So Lukashenko, some people have been saying some things, so I guess he was defending his decision yesterday. He was defending his decision about, for example, the Oreshnik and the tactical nuclear weapons here. And it's very, very true, you know, and I believe he was actually, Lukashenko's done a lot of things. He was like directing a lot of agricultural projects and things before he became the prime minister. I think he majored, one of his majors was in history, so very intelligent guy. Even though, you know, it's like Scott Ritter, they don't actually sound like that, but they are actually intellectual people. So, you know, instead of just talking like this, maybe wearing glasses, and you know, they don't sound like, but they actually are. I don't know about Donald Trump. Some people say he talks like some village boy or something like that compared to Obama. Obama sounds more educated. I don't know. So let's see. So Lukashenko, he was defending that, putting them on Belarusian soil, and he was referencing what was going on like at World War II in 1941 when, you know, led by Guderian, you know, with the attack. And I mention this quite often on Brest, on the Brest Fortress, June 22nd, 1941, and they just flooded right across, and then there's like nothing to stop them, and they moved all the way into Minsk in very, very short time. And Guderian, as I probably should put out, he was actually the guy that envisioned, and what do you call it, the inventor of the Blitzkrieg, which is lightning war, which is moving really, really fast. And that's how he led the charge into France in World War II. I think it was his 3rd Armored Division. And I guess even in the Nuremberg trials, he was not tried, like apparently not a Nazi, so he was able to write his memoirs. So you can find books written by General Guderian out there somewhere. Okay, so yeah, the West, well, another thing, Lukashenko was talking about that, and it's obvious as well, and you guys should know this. I mean, you hear about it for years and years, and sometimes, you know, they move troops in all over, like in the Baltic states, Poland, and then they kind of move them out anyway, shuffling them around. They have military exercise. A lot of times they bring equipment and they never remove it. That's also the case in some places around Japan. The United States has military exercises. They move some equipment in and they never remove it. So the equipment is still there. It's still there many months later. So, but they are, let's see, gathering a lot of forces and weapons and things on the border of Belarus, and he's basically saying, well, what am I supposed to do? You know, he said, what am I supposed to just do nothing and let it happen again like what happened in 1941? I guess I agree. How can you disagree with Lukashenko on that? He's no dummy. So, and obviously Belarus, that was slated to be overthrown before Ukraine, and it didn't work because of Lukashenko. And it was just a stepping stone to Russia. And of course, you know, obviously because they want they want to attack Russia, the West. I mean, it's like, well, I hadn't noticed, And like I said, I studied that in history, and that's been a similar sort of a view for hundreds of years. Like that was my subject, the early times back in the Holy Roman Empire, and establishing the marches. That was basically to keep the Slavic people from attacking Europe, which never happened really. And but it's actually reversed itself now, and the West wants to attack Russia. Now that's for the resources and everything else. They've destroyed their economy, probably thinking, well, we can just keep promising all to do this stuff and doing everything we want to do. Let's get rid of our nuclear power to please the environmentalists, and we'll just get it from Ukraine. We'll just get Zaporozhye. I guess that was the power from the Zaporozhye, because we'll need a lot more energy, and that's the largest nuclear power plant in Europe, maybe the world. I don't know. So, yeah, very easy, but it looks like it didn't turn out to be that easy, actually. First, Belarus didn't fall anyway. Okay. And obviously it's Belarus's geographic location. And if you look back even in history, when you see Bismarck, before he became Chancellor of Germany, he was, leader or speaker of the Prussian Diet before Prussia consolidated and led, consolidated the German states, and the King of Prussia became the Kaiser of Germany, the Emperor of Germany, because that's what an emperor is somebody who rules over kings. So Kaiser is another word for Caesar. That is the German word for Caesar. Like Tsar is the word for Caesar in Russian. Kaiser is the word for Caesar in German. So it was emperor, and Kaiser Wilhelm, was it the second? I think his father was William the First, and then they had I think it was a 90-day Kaiser, one Kaiser that was the older brother, and he died. He was maybe the 1 year. I don't know. He was very, very short time. I don't even know his name. But and then the other one came up, the Kaiser Wilhelm, the guy who had a birth defect and one arm was shorter than the other, and of course you don't see that. And he's cousins or whatever with the king of not the king, I guess the prince leading up the son or grandson of Queen Victoria. Victoria was the ruler of Great Britain at the time, and also related to the Tsar. So they were all like cousins. The Tsar of Russia, maybe it was the Prince of Wales in England, and the Kaiser of Germany, all related. Brothers. Matter of fact, they even did writing classes together. I remember hearing about it, because I had a professor, and he was one of the most renowned German historians, even though he spoke English. He was an English-speaking professor. He was one of the most renowned professors of German history, John Bridgman from the University of Washington. Got knighted from the Queen of England and honored by President Nixon and John F. Kennedy and all that, but he never really wrote books. He was mostly a fabulous lecturer. But anyway, I remember him talking about Kaiser Wilhelm, and he couldn't stay on a horse very well, because they tried to make it look like his arm or arms were of the same length as normal people, but it made it difficult for him to actually catch the reins on the horse, so he fell off the horse quite often, and I guess Queen Victoria kept telling him to get back on the horse or something like that. So that lets you know how close they were, the royal families of Great Britain and Germany, and also, I suppose, Russia. But all I heard is the Willie Nicky letters. I don't know. I guess it's some famous part in the history of those days. Wilhelm and Nicholas, the Tsar. So the Emperor of Germany and the Tsar of Russia, writing letters back and forth. And I don't know what was contained in those letters. If I ever learned, I would have forgotten by now anyway. But it's anyway, interesting types of history. It was a fascinating period, so let's keep going. Oh, you got me on this tangents. I don't know how you guys do this to me all the time. But anyway, it's just a turbulent situation now, almost like it was back in the old days in the lead up to World War I. And a lot of similarities. A lot of people are making similarities between what it was like in World War I and this whole thing going on right now. And some things are going in reverse. That's just trench warfare and things like that. But now, with the addition of drones, things are much, much different. And let's go. Russia continues to hit Ukraine with constant pounding of artillery. That's another thing. That was what was being used big time in World War I as well. Even though I believe in the Crimean War and even in the United States Civil War in the 1860s, that was a big deal then too. But it's even bigger. They're longer range and more powerful bombs now. But anyway, Russia continues to pound those guys. And obviously more Ukrainians are dying than Russians, but there are Russians dying. I saw a list some days ago. I never pay attention, all the names are on there of the Russian casualties, but oh, nice dog. I keep forgetting you guys could see that too. So anyway, it's just still getting rough, and Ukraine continues to lose, and there's Western governments are still aligned with the Nazis, Ukrainian Nazis, and in so many words, they're insisting that death continues. They obviously know. They know that they cannot defeat Russia. It's obvious, and they're not going to bring Russia to its knees or enact a strategic defeat. I guess that time has long passed now. So what are they doing? I guess like Lindsey Graham and some of these people. I think I mentioned something like that yesterday as well. These people are ecstatic. They're ecstatic that they're killing not only Russians, they're ecstatic that they're killing Ukrainians. And of course, these are the Eastern Slavs. So they are in love with it. And a lot of people are even noticing that. So many people are saying that, not just me. They want to kill both of them. And it makes you wonder if the Ukrainians are ever going to wake up. And I don't mean the Ukrainian government, the regime, because they're a part of it. They don't really care about their people at all. That's obvious. They care nothing about them. They care about getting rich and comfortable. Like obviously Zelensky, more properties everywhere, more businesses. And apparently, I read something about a lot of gold that he bought into. I know he bought in the mining industry in South Africa, but they're ranking up, and a lot of people are now talking about the gold prices going up. And Zelensky is going to be cashing in pretty good because he owns a lot of those operations in South Africa. He bought that out. So he is the biggest mine owner in all of South Africa, personally. And then some people are saying, well, it's speculated that Zelensky's a billionaire. And it's like, oh, really? Oh, really now? Really? Oh, Forbes marked him as a billionaire, what 4 years ago? At 2.5 billion then. And I guess right away he shot up, and it was pretty much determined that he had 5 billion very shortly. And then people are talking about 10 billion like a year after that. And he's definitely got over 10 billion by now. Much, 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 much. And but obviously he wants to keep this stuff going, not because he believes he can beat Russia. He probably knows very well he's losing. He just wants more money. And a lot of people are talking about that. That is the major diagnosis of what is going on now with Zelensky. So in the West, they know that. They know that that they can't beat Russia now. And I guess the whole thing is, it's not just, like I said, not just to kill Russians, it's to kill Ukrainians. So who else? Kim.com said Zelensky's goal is to keep the war going until he can get the seized Russian assets. So he wants to give this illusion that Russia is not prevailing and they're not gaining any territory or not winning the war. And all he needs is these weapons and lots and lots of money, the seized Russian assets, and he will be victorious. And I guess he was insisting on the money. He didn't want the weapons, he wanted the money. And then I can get my own weapons. And Kim.com said, everybody knows he's lost the war. It just shows he only cares about the money and not the lives of his soldiers. Those are the words of Kim.com. And of course, how many other people have said it? Okay, Poland, Hungary, Slovakia are defying the EU by banning Ukrainian imports. And I'm presuming mostly it is going to be agricultural imports. What else are they making in Ukraine? So as the new trade deal takes effect, I guess that is their desire. So they're defying the EU, and the EU is seeking legal action against them, against these countries, for not willingly destroying their economy. I mean, Ukraine. Ukraine is a Europe. Wait a minute, they're not in the European Union. So why would the European Union want to destroy the economies of other countries in the European Union at the benefit of a country that is not in the European Union? Now that makes perfect sense, doesn't it, everybody? It's incredible, you know. I guess Ukraine is more important. But anyhow, that's about all I have to put out for right now, you know, and I have to go places, get things done, you know. As if you haven't noticed. Oh, look, there's eggs in there. You get a big flat of eggs. I should go show you. Nobody, look at the fish flapping around in there. Wow. Looks like carp. But here's some eggs. I'm sure nobody runs off with my backpack. So, how much is this? Let's see. Do they have a price? I guess one flat is 2 rubles and 40. Makes you wonder, what is that? That's so less than $1 for like 20 eggs, I guess. I don't know how many's in a flat. Probably much, much cheaper than in America, I can tell you. So that's about it. I don't know how much these fish are. These carp. Oh, look at, nobody's here. Huh? So anyway, guess it's from a fish farm. A lot of agriculture and fisheries and things like that. A lot of stuff like that going on in Belarus. There's even a big demand to continue to keep expanding the greenhouses, to be growing lots of vegetables and things here. And they're looking for people, and it pays really well. But you have to speak at least a pretty good level of Russian, because it's really hard work, and they say, you go do this. This group goes the one over there, and you can say, I have a question. You can't really say that, because I guess it's really hard, fast work, and you really have to understand it quite a bit. I don't know if they have little units that have Africans or things like that, or Pakistanis. They probably do, but they're not going to probably take an American or English-speaking place. I don't know. At least when I went there, they didn't tell me. Maybe they didn't like my look. Anyways, you guys smiling. I guess he understands English over there. Okay, I guess I'm out of here. Thanks for joining me, everybody. I'll see you next time. Bye.